What's going on, all you dads out there and all you moms? Welcome to the Fade You podcast. This is episode 133. Thank you for checking us out. Thanks for listening. If you want to support the show, please tell your friends, like this on Twitter, subscribe to the pod, all that good stuff that helps us out, continue to grow and provide some good content for you guys. So a few housekeeping things before we dive into the latest episode. We are on Twitter at Fade You Sports. Make sure you're following us there. Also, click the link in our bio, subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're hoping to add some more video content as we go. And then if you want, Chris Duke DeJennings plays from Hawaii on his honeymoon and other shenanigans like that. Check out the TikTok. That is at Fade University. And we're looking to add to that as the summer goes on as well. My name is Matthew James. I'm on Twitter at MatthewJames78. Fuck the Golden Knights. Got to get that out of the way. And I'm joined on tonight's pod by a couple of dads, a few dads. We're down one. Chris Duke is flying back from Hawaii, but we do have Joe and Neil and Kmart. So let's start with Neil. You helped me test this out a little bit earlier at Big Nelly Buckets on Twitter. Neil, how you been?
Good, Dad. Just trying to figure out what I want to do with my life. Baseball is always, sort of questionable, first 2 weeks as you try to figure out and navigate your way and not knowing how the season is going to start. And certainly we saw a little bit of that with, shortened spring training, a lot of reasons, potentially why baseball's been a little wonky, but all in all, life as well.
Glad to hear it. We also have Joe with us at Joe_knows____ on Twitter. Joe, for a non-NBA guy, that is a pretty sweet fucking hat you are rocking there. That is a Warriors.
It is the Chinese New Year Warriors hat from like 3 years ago. It's pretty awesome. I don't really give a shit about the NBA, but I saw the hat when I was up north visiting and I was like, fuck it, I'll buy that thing. It looks cool. So rocking that hat right now. But yeah, just still recovering, man. Our anteater dad was down here all weekend, so just kind of been a big few days of drinking and just continuing it on right now.
Never stop. Love to see it. And then coming to us from Arizona, Kmart_angles on Twitter. Kyle, how's the desert, man?
We came back yesterday, but it was pretty good. I ran the Tillman run on Saturday, and it felt like I was at the beach. It was perfect weather, and then just came back and degen some NBA playoffs. So Saturday, I think, was the most basketball I've watched all year, and I got rewarded with some pretty good games.
How was Chase Field? Did the Diamondbacks put up more than one run for you?
Yeah, they ended up putting up 5 and losing in extras. So, made it a game. They got up 1-0. The next thing you knew, they were down 5-1 and found a way to come crawling back, but not quite enough in the end. But Chase Field, really, really cool park. Went there with the wife, some friends from Scottsdale, and the 3-month-old, and she did all right. It was pretty cool taking her to her first sporting event.
Nice. There you go. If you have not listened to our last episode yet, we had Ariel Epstein on, and she was a delight. It was a great pod. So that's episode 132. She talks about her love for baseball, how she approaches props. It's really good. So if anybody hasn't listened to that one yet, go back and do your homework and make sure you're following Ariel. She's got tons of good stuff.
And hair pieces. Hair pieces too, Matthew.
Can't forget the hair pieces. We talked hair pieces a couple episodes ago, and then we brought it up with her on that last pod, and that's great. Any updates to the top of the list, Joe, that you've seen?
Dude, Corbin Burns.
Yeah.
I don't know if we brought him up, but oh my goodness gracious. Today, watched him pitch against the Giants, and I was just in awe of his 97-mile-an-hour cutter, and the fucking flow out of the back of that hat was just orgasmic. It was amazing. And then, I saw Bo Bichette hit that grand slam a few minutes ago, and wow, that he was a top 3 pick for me. And wow, there's no mistake there. He is a top 3 hair guy.
Wow. Well, we'll look forward to adding to that as the season goes on. We got a long way to go in Major League Baseball. So this episode tonight, we're kind of catching up ourselves. We had Ariel on the last pod, and we have actually a couple more guests coming up. So we wanted to just sort of reconvene and talk about what we have been watching, what we've been betting. A lot going on in sports right now. This time of year, we have started the baseball season. We've got the NBA playoffs, got the NHL season winding down, and oh, by the way, the NFL is going to come back into the spotlight this week with the draft and all of this craziness surrounding the draft. I guess let's start there. We do have several Niners fans who are part of this podcast. And I want to just kind of go around and talk about what we think the fuck is going on with Deebo Samuel, this situation, the ripple effects it might have on the draft and on the offseason. Kind of a wild story. Kyle, where do you think this came from?
Dude, I have no idea where it came from. Came out of left field, right in time for baseball. But I don't know, man. Love Deebo when they drafted him. It's kind of annoying. I don't really know what's happening, to be honest. But, I mean, I personally feel if the front office doesn't think they can get him to a long-term deal, I'd say trade his ass on draft night. Like, don't let him sit out a year and then walk away. Just get something at this point. But I mean, I hope he's a Niner for life because he's just too damn good and he's fun to watch.
Dude, he can't, man. He has zero leverage. That's the problem. Is so Deebo, if he sits out, he's a restricted free agent next year, and they can just throw a franchise tag on him and make him play. There's literally, he has no out here. He has zero leverage, and that's what I think. That's why I think it's so surprising that he's putting his foot down and doing this.
So this is different from what Le'Veon Bell did, where Le'Veon sat out a year and was still an unrestricted free agent. Yeah, to my understanding, Deebo, it's not like he's closer to unrestricted free agency, even if he were to sit out. So I think, Joe, you're right.
Correct.
And that
he won't have an accrued year, and he becomes a restricted free agent, and he can't do shit about that. So it's bizarre, honestly, and especially because there's been rumors that he told Kyle like he was upset with his usage, and he said, hey, I don't want to play running back anymore. But it's like, Deebo, you want to get paid, and your best thing you do is run the fucking football, especially out of the backfield. How many of those like 20-yard runs did he have? And he's going to tell the coach that's not what he wants to do anymore. So you want to get paid more, but do the thing you're the best at, or not do the thing you're best at? Because you got to remember, he's an okay receiver, but he was leading the NFL in drops for half the fucking year.
Yeah.
So I don't get it. I'm more team friendly than player friendly, I guess. But I just think Deebo has no leverage here, and it's going to have to be worked out internally. Like, they're going to have to figure it out. I mean, trade him. They're going to have to get a king's ransom because he has no leverage.
I know they use him a lot more in the running back situation, but does he realize that the 49ers for decades have used receivers that way? Jerry Rice, John Taylor, Terrell Owens, like,
right, but he doesn't want to do that.
I mean, I know,
he doesn't want to get
he
hurt.
gets 10 carries a game, like, I get it, but if he didn't like it, why did he come up with the term of wide back?
That's what I was going to say.
And that's the other thing too. It makes no sense. Yeah,
because he really seemed to embrace that, right? Like, yeah.
He has merch on his website that says wide back.
And like the easiest ball for the catch is the quick pitch. That's 1 yard.
Right. And I think there's a lot of like bullshit in the background too with his agent, who was also the agent for DK Metcalf, and then one other guy that's about to get paid. And I think he's just posturing because the first one that gets paid, guess what's going to happen? Then the one following is going to get more money. So it's an interesting situation. And I don't know if it's Deebo being told what to do by his agent or whatever, but yeah, it's weird. It's just I can't emphasize enough. He has zero leverage, and people keep forgetting that.
What do you think, Neil? Is this just the natural thing that happens after the wide receiver market and contracts and extensions explodes this offseason? It was just kind of inevitable, and Deebo's sort of the highest profile malcontent right now.
I guess I kind of feel that way because you look at, the highest 2 paid wide receivers right now in the game are guys who have just gotten traded and signed massive deals with their new teams, right? So you have Tyreek Hill and Devontae Adams. So, and I think it just maybe those two guys setting this precedent, right? Because Deebo's not the only one, right? There's talks about AJ Brown is in the same case. And, I think we already talked about, Seattle, DK, right?
Justin Jefferson.
And it is going to be Justin Jefferson around in a couple of years, right? But Justin Jefferson, he only finished his second year here, right?
Yeah.
So I think maybe, maybe it's a precedent that Tyreek and Devontae have set by getting traded and, signing massive deals. That's what end up taking.
Well, I don't even know if it was necessarily them. Like, it feels that Trent Baalke still found a way to fuck the Niners in Jacksonville with Christian Kirk's deal. Like, I feel like that's what truly broke the NFL.
And I think Deebo, thinks he's Devontae Adams or Tyreek Hill, but he's not. Those guys have been all pros for 3, 4, 5 years in a row and not hurt and played every game and fucking done all this. And Deebo's done it for a year and a half.
Yeah, because he was still injured last year. Like,
yeah, he played half the season.
He missed 2 games last year. He still put up phenomenal numbers. I feel like he missed more, but still put up phenomenal numbers. But his sophomore year, I don't know. Like, I'd say, kid, prove it. prove it in your 4th year.
Right. That's
that's the whole point of these rookie contracts, man. Like, you signed it, play through it. If you don't like it, go work a sales job.
But I know, and I get it from Deebo's perspective too, because he wants to maximize his income, right? Like, the difference between him getting 25 million and 19 million, it's $6 million fucking dollars, life-changing money. And if he goes out there and plays running back and fucks his shit up next year, and then he's gonna get a $10 million contract the following year. So it's a tough situation because you got to toe that line of what are you willing to play and practice and risk your health versus accruing a year and fucking getting the most money possible. But yeah,
and
it's an interesting situation.
Right, to Joe's point, like, you need to sign, like, I kind of get where he's coming from, where you need to sign that second contract, right? Like, your rookie deal, you're making like $5 million a year.
Not even. I think he's making 3 or something like that.
Right?
He's making 3.
Right. So you need to get to that point healthy where you can sign that, Hopkins, Tyreek Hill type of deal where, you can guarantee yourself, $40 or $50 million on your contract. So I kind of get where he's coming from, being this, playing both roles as wide receiver and running back and taking the hits, but he's no different than any running back that's out there, any rookie running back right now. He's not getting hit any more than they are. So I don't know. It's a tough situation.
What also changed? He's a new father. So, what Joe was saying, if he gets injured, that could be, a big reason too. Who knows?
Yeah, the thing that makes the most sense to me would be like Carolina trading for him, something like that. Maybe the Jets. I think he wants to go back to the South or closer to Carolina where he grew up.
I get that.
And the taxes in California, man, that is insanity.
Yeah, but if you're a multi-million, I don't know. These guys think that he thinks he's established himself as the most important player on the team, which
he did for 1 year.
Probably fair. And these young wide receivers, passing has never been more important. And these guys see, and Joe, you talked about, he's not Devontae Adams, he's not Tyreek Hill. Well, in his mind, he is, and he's proven he can be that. And he carried them to the conference championship game. So,
oh yeah,
I don't know, man.
That carried us in the Green Bay game.
Who carried them?
The defense.
Well, yeah, for sure. But without Deebo, they don't.
But
yeah, they. I don't know. I
just
feel
can't.
Like,
yeah.
the young receivers, like Neil, you mentioned Jefferson and this is going to continue happening as long as young wide receivers are dominating the league by the time they're 25. There's going to be a shift where these guys are going to be like, you can't make me the centerpiece of your offense and not commit to me long term. It's just, there's too much risk in football. Right. So we'll see what happens.
I agree.
I mean, Joe, do you think they trade him before the draft? Do you think he gets traded?
He doesn't get traded before the trade.
I thought I was leaning towards yes, they trade him until the John Lynch press conference today when he was like,
oh man,
I'm not talking about the Deebo thing, but I do not see a world where we trade him. And I'm like,
dude,
okay.
that dude's balls don't need to get washed for months. I mean, that was some serious ball washing by John Lynch. I mean, like a bro. I mean, he really got down there and, so Kyle, you think he doesn't get traded?
Well, like, there's no way in hell they would trade him before, like, during the draft is the only time they would trade him, because they would want to know who they're getting with what pick, because it's a deep receiver draft. So if they do take 10, which I don't think just taking 10 is enough, but 10, who's there? I mean, chances are most of them are going to be there, but you can't pull the trigger before draft night. There's no way in hell. It'd piss me off for sure.
This is going to be crazy. Yeah, it's a wild story. And then you had the curveball today where now it's Green Bay talking to the Raiders about Waller. There's all these. Yeah. I mean, if you like rumors and you like just clickbait, like this is a good week for you. As far as the rest of the draft goes, I mean, it's kind of lackluster, right? Like, the whole narrative is that nobody thinks these quarterbacks are any good. And everyone says none of these guys should even be first round picks, even though inevitably some of them will be, because that's just the way that NFL teams view quarterbacks. Is there anything exciting? Kyle, you mentioned the wide receivers. Is there anything else exciting about this draft, betting this draft?
I mean, for me, it's the receivers, mainly Drake London. That's all I really care about. And I know there's some good offensive linemen. So it's out of like scouting and getting ready to bet next season. It's interesting where some of these linemen will go. But I mean, I don't really care. I usually watch the first 10, 15 picks and then I turn it off.
Joe, here's a prop for you. Or go ahead, Neil.
No, and I was just gonna kind of follow up to Kmart's point where I really don't see any player in this draft really probably making any notable difference for their team. Kyle's talking about the wide receivers, and they are, at least to me, and I think to most people, the most exciting pieces in all this, where Garrett Wilson and Olave and Drake London go. But most likely, if they wind up on, a Houston Texans or something, it's not going to it's not going to matter. You can't overcome, shitty quarterback play. So it is interesting. I'm with Kyle. Like, depending on where wide receivers fall, it's interesting that, like, Drake London is just a different type of wide receiver than Wilson or than Olave, right? He's just that bigger guy. So if you're looking if you get down to, I don't think they get down to like Philadelphia, but if you get down to like Washington at 10, like McLaurin's 6 foot, right? So are you really just going to go out and get Wilson as another 6 foot wide receiver? Or are you going to go for the 6'4" Drake London and try to pair him up on the other side of the ball with Wentz? Like, I kind of feel like that's a spot. And maybe, I was looking at that and I sort of saw a little bit of value in Drake London at +1. I think it was plus 190 to be the first wide receiver taken. That one kind of interests me just because of the teams that could go for a wide receiver, and especially to take it with the first round pick, I kind of feel like you may go Drake London just for size comparisons versus what some of the teams already have.
See if teams maybe fall in love with that big body. I heard people say, yeah, it's not necessarily Garrett Wilson locked to be first receiver. It could be Olave for all. I mean, I think people probably think that Wilson's a better receiver, but
Really?
Olave's got the speed. So it's and now they're talking about a couple other guys. So yeah, I mean, nobody knows anything. This is just a crapshoot, especially with the quarterback uncertainty, like how early a receiver is going to go. Would you guys say under 3.5 first round QBs might be a good bet? I think that's kind of what the numbers, we can't bet that, but I think that's kind of what the numbers at.
Yeah, because they're saying
yeah.
Ritter is probably not going to be a first rounder.
Oh, well,
So
there will be. I mean, somebody will take a shot on Willis or Pickett or one of those guys, but I don't know if it'll be very early. So different kind of draft for sure. Joe, here's a prop for you, sort of related to college. What would you set the over under at for between Neil and Kyle boners during the USC spring game the other day? How many are total erections?
I actually caught the majority of that. I was at a bar in Palm Springs and they had it on. And I was like, oh, cool. I'll watch this shitty ass football program play that's going to get beat by Fresno State in the first quarter of the year. But it's, I would set that over under at least 20 inches.
Yeah, they went all out because I was out Kyle was actually out with Sam. We were in Costa Mesa hopping around to some breweries, and that thing was showcase game on ESPN, and they really pimped that out for Lincoln.
God, I was sick watching it.
It was like, whoa, these fucking guys think this is professional sports.
Yeah, like the hype is pretty crazy right now. I was texting my dad yesterday about it when I got back, and it's kind of what we talked about, I think, at the first pod after the signing of Riley. I mean, the hype, it's fun, but who knows? My dad and I still think their defense is a big question mark. They're going to put up points, but they might still be losing games 45-42. So that's the concern. It's not the offense, it's the defense.
Yeah, because Jake Hayner's going to go out there and throw up fucking 500 yards and 5 touchdowns on that dog shit defense. It's going to be awesome.
Speaking of Lincoln Riley, kind of loosely, did anybody see the Baker statue at OU?
Yes.
Idiot.
That is some funny shit right there.
Yeah.
Wow. All right, let's switch gears a little bit. That's NFL draft. That's coming up in a few days. We're recording this on Monday, the 25th. Baseball, NBA, what are we watching? And are we liking what we're watching?
I'm watching baseball, but I'm not liking it. It's fucking been horrible for me. I'm usually like my fade pitchers aren't working. And I feel like there's a lot of square plays that are winning, and it's frustrating as somebody that's doing the exact opposite. Like, we were with Carson on Friday night, and I think it was the Diamondbacks game. The money was 95% bets and tickets on the other team, and I was like, dude, we're taking the Diamondbacks. Like, I don't give a fuck. And yeah, they lose, but it's just, I feel like it's been pretty square thus far, at least from what I've seen. And I don't know, man. I just don't know. It's been a bad start to the baseball season.
What about the unders dominate? I'm looking at scores right now. I see one game has gone over. Now, it's a travel day for some teams. There's only, I think, 7 games today, but it looks like unders might go 6-1 today. What's going on with this? Why aren't we scoring any runs?
I mean, I think you can probably toss out a dozen different reasons, from the ball, from lack of spring training to the colds, sort of all the sort of early season narratives, with some added ones that you can probably throw out there. But, what sort of, and we talked about it right before we hopped on here, sort of what's interesting to me is we saw it a lot, Matt, and you'll remember, like, once they talked about all the sticky stuff last year and that kind of went away halfway through, we saw pitchers just completely lose their sense of where the strike zone was. And walks and hit batters were just like dominating in games. So you'd have, games that had 9 runs and had 10 hits in them because they were just walk, home run. It's kind of been similar, right? Don't you feel so far this year? And we, a couple examples, the Angel game yesterday, they had 6 runs off of 2 hits in the first inning. You're still not seeing hits. You're seeing a lot of walks. And then with that, I don't think strikeouts are being crazy. Like the highest number for a strikeout prop that I think I saw was, today with Corbin Burns. And I think he was logged in at 8.5 projected Ks today. I don't know where he ended. I saw him. He had 8 at one point. But you're not seeing like a dominant number of Ks considering where, what some of the lines and stuff, Matt, that we saw at the beginning of last year, which were just like crazy.
9.5. Yeah.
9.5. Yeah. Garrett Cole's pitching 9.5. Set the number and walk away.
Yeah, Burns at 11 today, but one
11.
pitcher that's Carlos Rodon. What's his going to be tomorrow? Probably 8.5, maybe more.
Well, Joe, how about Nestor? Ariel's boy. Nestor's been pulling his cock out early on.
Nestor has been pulling his cock out for sure. I mean, Ohtani's had a billion of them too. But yeah, I actually looked at my MLB records. Not as bad as I thought. I'm 55-50 for plus 1.5 units. Look at how's that ROI?
Not down. It's not down.
Right.
Kyle, how about you? What are you been betting? Dodger run lines. I mean, the best lineup in the history of baseball. How's that going so far?
I mean, I've been doing a lot of spot NBA recently, finding success with that. Probably losing way too much money following other people and just thinking they know. I'm gonna literally write 10 rules down tomorrow, and I think number 1 is gonna be from our boy Dave. Nobody knows shit. Stop following so-called experts blindly. Like if I gotta have some rhyme or reason to go on it, not just be like, oh, I trust you. Okay, you do well. So that's been fun the last 2 weeks. When I said I was going to slow it down is to lose my lunch when I feel like I've been doing pretty well. Dodgers run line, I think I've done it 3 times, 3-0. The no run first inning's kind of fun every now and then. Neil, you know me, first team to score 10 or 15 is kind of like the new baseball one for me, since, that seems to be big now. So, just things of that nature are a lot of fun, but I'm kind of looking at more spot NBA, I think, until the playoffs run its course.
Yeah, I don't know what else there really is on baseball. I mean, some of the usual suspects are off to good starts. I think is the Rockies who have been kind of surprising. Is that one? I think I read, Joe, Neil, is that right? That the Rockies have maybe been the most profitable team so far? I mean, they lost today, but still pretty decent.
Rockies have been sick.
Yeah.
They've been decent. Yeah, and the Mets being as hot as they are.
Mm-hmm. Okay, how about go ahead.
Cincy being complete scum has been very disappointing. They're 3-13. I think I've fired them at least 5 or 6 times and lost every fucking one. So
well, and not only did they lose, didn't they lose like 11 run lines in a row too? They can't even lose by one.
Yeah, and they went there was a team that started the season 0-11 or 11-0 on unders. I can't remember. Was it Cincy? I can't even remember. But yeah, there's one. Maybe it was the Orioles. I can't remember who it was, but yeah, just the other day I saw a tweet that they started the season 0-11 to the over.
I think it was the Orioles.
Pretty epic.
Joe. It was the Orioles, I think, and then they finally hit that over again in the series against the Angels. They hit an over.
Speaking of the Angels and that bait line, Angels up 3-0, bottom of 7th.
One other thing I'm having fun betting on is a parlay of the Dodgers and Giants, just because I don't know, too easy to not do it. So that
you got to be laying juice, right, on a 2-teamer?
No. I mean,
dude.
Usually I'm getting like plus 150. Even I think one time I did a run line in there, but I've even thrown the Mets in there a couple times. But yeah, I've done a lot of 2-teamers between them, for plus money. Mets have been good to throw in there a couple times, and then I've just kind of for shits and giggles. Like I just missed a $50 the other day, and I think the only loss was the Hawks yesterday. And at $50 would have turned out like 1,300.
Oh
So
shit!
Oh
I was
my
like,
God.
You didn't hedge.
Disgusting.
No, I couldn't because the last leg was the Pelicans, so there's no hedge. It wasn't the last game, unfortunately. And I was holding out hope that Trae Young would lead them back, but oh well.
So how about the NBA? So Neil, our boy Carl, I loved. Did you see the mission accomplished tweet?
Yeah.
With
Bush.
with Bush, mission accomplished. Amazing. So the Nets get swept. I mean, is it? It's got to be good, right? They're the villain in all this. No one wants them to win. But is it almost a little like, did we need them around for a little while longer just to play this role? Because I'm having this kind of similar crisis with the Vegas Golden Knights right now. Like they're so hateable, which makes them great to have around. So without the Nets, I mean, do we lose a little bit in this NBA? Because it was a compelling matchup with the Celtics drawing this like supposed super team and then to just sweep them out, no problem. I don't know. Are we going to miss having the Nets around, I guess?
I don't think so, because I would say I think the satisfaction of the Nets getting swept,
which is like deeply satisfying, to be clear.
100%. The fact that they got swept and it wasn't like it, to me, it's either get swept or, lose it in this, have this be a 7-game series. And I don't think anyone thought it was going to be a 7-game series once it went 3-0. So I think the satisfaction of it, just getting them out of the way, is fine. And this isn't like an Eastern, like I would say if the Eastern Conference was going like opposite of what it is, but like the 76ers are still really interesting. Obviously Boston is very interesting. Milwaukee's going to be there and interesting. Like there still are very interesting teams in the East, to where it's not like, okay, there's nothing to watch the rest of the next 2 rounds of the Eastern Conference. Like they're still going to be good matchup, and I think the Eastern Conference Finals will still be a really good finals, with or without the Nets. So no, I'm fine with it. Let's go ahead and sweep them. No Nets, no Lakers. Carl Haskell, mission accomplished. That was his 2 teams.
I mean, everybody clowned on the Lakers for missing the playoffs, which is hilarious in and of itself. But I mean, for the Nets to make it and then get swept, it's almost worse, right?
Hey, they
Kyle,
almost
is that
won
worse?
game 1. Dude, yeah.
They almost.
It's a fan, it's worse, but like my kid's going crazy. She's not happy apparently, but
she's not happy the Nets got swept.
No, not at all. She loves a tarantula, I guess. I used to, but no, I mean, it's got to be disheartening to get swept by the Celtics, I would think. But I mean, it looks like Celtics Warriors is going to be an NBA Finals. That because I still think the Pelicans are going to take out the Suns. I just think they match up so well without Booker, and the Pelicans are the exact same team that the Suns were 2 years ago. They have all the young talent, and I hope they come through and beat them. That's what I'm cheering for. And I also love Brandon Ingram.
I mean, I guess correct me if I'm wrong, but the first round of the NBA playoffs is notorious for being kind of a dud, where you get multiple sweeps and you have some of the high seeds just roll. But we've had some really interesting
it looks
twists
like
and turns
that way. Now all of a sudden the Raptors are battling themselves back in it. I don't know what's going on in the Mavs game tonight, but that's another one that's probably going 7. So yeah, no, I think we said it a lot of times, there's parity in the NBA for the first time in a very, very long time.
which is hilarious because the two favorites to win the title going into the season won a combined 0 playoff games. So
that's just because everybody, LeBron James, like,
yep.
you know,
Yeah. Speaking of ball washing.
Ego.
Yeah.
Yeah, his massive ego. And then, you know, I'm still so pissed. Like, I'd probably be more pissed if the Lakers didn't have LeBron James, but the fact they could have and should have had DeMar DeRozan, that's probably going to haunt me for, I don't know, 6 years.
Yeah, you wanted him for a long time.
Yeah. I mean, I probably wanted that guy, I mean, ever since he, you know, was a Trojan, but whatever.
So there was a tweet after the Nets sweep. I want your take on this, Neil, that the Durant, Kyrie Irving Nets so far have won one playoff game or one playoff series. And the people are talking about this could be the biggest super team fail ever. If they don't get it together and surround these, maybe a better coach. And he says, ironically, the Steve Nash, Dwight Howard Lakers are also, that was a team on the cover of Sports Illustrated put together to win. And did they make the playoffs? They made the playoffs, right? And then were they swept by the Spurs?
By the Spurs, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, what do you think? Can you think of another supposed super team that has just kind of flunked out harder than these guys so far?
Well, I think you have to put right, and again, for betting purposes, you would have to put this year's Lakers team sort of in a similar block, just for what was put together. But no, I mean, no, I other than the fact that you could have said like Kyrie Irving's just a head case, and it wasn't going to work because the guy was just off. And I don't know. I mean, maybe you could talk about COVID having something to do with it. You know, Irving took his stance on COVID. Wasn't going to get vaccinated, wasn't going to go through play the game. And, good kudos for him to standing up for his guns and what he believes in. So maybe that changes if he's, on the team the whole year. Maybe they would be able to find some sort of chemistry between him, Harden, and Durant at the time at the beginning of the year. If that wasn't the case, it's kind of hard to say, but no, I mean, I think if you go back to the day when KD leaves Golden State for Brooklyn and they find out that Irving was going, no, I think at that point you probably could have set like the over/under championships at like 1.5 or 2.5 and had plenty of over money come in on it.
I've got to think that outside of beating the Yankees, it may not get much better as a Boston fan than beating that dude, because he is such a piece of shit, Irving. I mean, the way that he just talked shit and stomped on the logo, they hate that guy so much. So to sweep his ass has got to be a pretty good feeling. I'm very curious to see how these playoffs go, because I think one of the things that makes playoffs compelling is having a team that you want to root against. And I don't know who the bad guy is in these playoffs anymore. Like, it's not the Suns, it's not the Bucks, it's not really the Warriors. Like, Durant left them, and I mean, they've won before, but I don't know that people see the Warriors as like some villain. It's not really it's not the Heat. So like, who's the bad guy?
It's got to be the 76ers, I would guess.
Is it Harden? Do people just want to see Harden fall on his face? But Embiid is still likable though, so it's kind of weird. I mean, I don't know. It's really interesting because, and now you have all these injuries with Booker. Like, are the Suns really gonna just get fucked because of an injury? And it's not even Chris Paul. Like, that's kind of crazy. So we'll see. Much more interesting first round than I think I imagined. As a non-NBA guy, I caught myself watching the end of that today. It was really high level stuff. So kudos to the NBA for having some compelling stuff going on.
And we can just say, I've sent this through text, just like we can say kudos to NBA, but like shame on NBA. Like, the NBA can be compelling when guys try hard.
Yeah.
Like, none of us are NBA guys because we could all care less because the players don't care less of the season. Like NBA games for me were unwatchable back in January. I remember trying and I can't watch this. I don't know what's going on. Like no one is exhibiting any effort. I'm enjoying watching basketball. Like it's an enjoyable product when people give a shit and the effort's there and people are trying. So you don't see that. I mean, I'd be no happier if Ben Simmons never plays a minute of basketball again. Screw that guy. Like there's some very unlikable people that just don't try very hard. And NBA needs to get that part together to make the regular season watchable.
We just talked about Harden. Neil, leave him out of this.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point. It is such a huge drop off from like the drama of a fourth quarter in an elimination game in a playoff series to like really anything in the regular season. And their product really suffer and they lose touch. People lose interest because if your regular season is kind of a dud, then people won't care.
The crazy thing, like I remember as a kid, the teams that were down 3-0 hardly ever showed up at game 4. And this year, I mean, you've seen three of them extend. I feel like the Nets are the only team that couldn't.
And they were down one, but
they at least had
they were right there. Yeah.
They just can't play defense. The Celtics are too superior for them.
Yeah. Boy, Jason Tatum.
Yeah.
Nice third pick.
Take Lonzo Ball over Jason Tatum. Ooh. Thank you for that forever.
He outplayed Durant and Kyrie Irving in that game. He is phenomenal. So yeah, good job. Good job, Lakers. I guess last thing for this pod is if anybody wants to watch real playoffs, those will start in a week and a half. The Stanley Cup playoffs are going to be electric. We'll see if those Vegas Golden Knights make it. Boy, Kyle, I got to say, watching the Sharks. So the Sharks haven't really had a meaningful game in 3 years, at least. And watching them, they have nothing to play for. Like they're out of it. But watching them find something to come back against those assholes and beat them and put a serious dent in their playoff chances, it kind of took me back to like 2016. I was like, man, this is what it feels like when there's like something on the line and it's exciting. And it was really cool. And I guess shout out to the NHL for creating such a great villain in the Vegas Golden Knights, because you had other teams' fan bases and other teams' official Twitter accounts tweeting that they're all Sharks fans just because everyone wants to see Vegas die. And it's pretty funny. So we'll see what happens with the rest of the NHL regular season. We are going to have a guest coming up on a very soon pod to talk betting the NHL playoffs. So look forward to that probably next week. And I think that is about it, Dads. Anybody got anything else? Joe, you got anything else? I know we kind of lose you with the NBA, but.
No, I don't really have a lot. I'm looking forward to betting on the NHL and hopefully baseball turns around and stops being so square. But yeah, and fuck the NBA. Who cares?
There you go. Kyle, Neil, anything else?
No, I'm just laughing at Joe's last comment. 5 years ago, I would have never agreed. Now I just totally agree with that. But I mean, to Neil's point, a couple of weeks ago, or I guess just a week ago, I mean, the playoffs have actually been fairly entertaining, especially the Wolves Grizzlies series. That's been my favorite. I'm looking forward to Game 5 tomorrow.
Man, the protesters in Minnesota have been something else.
Yeah, that was amazing. Just seeing this chick get tackled on the court.
The security guard just like seeing that 10, 15 seconds ahead.
Well, he must have heard him say something.
Yeah.
Like he was on that. He was like, try it.
Yeah, that was crazy. Shout out Angel Hernandez.
Dude, that was so bad.
Dude, I love Kyle Schwarber for that. I loved Kyle Schwarber. Oh, fuck. Oh, I'm not muted. Good. I love Kyle Schwarber before that. And him doing that was fucking amazing.
Yeah.
I was dying laughing.
That was pretty incredible. Any other anything else fun happen that we need to recap before we call it a pod?
I'll leave one. I got one stat. Our boy Doc Rivers, and we know this because he was with LA.
Oh no.
15-31 is his straight up record in games, in closeout games.
Oh my God.
Well, and now he has Harden, who is like the most no-show guy ever in playoff. He had people were clowning him on Twitter because he had like 7 points for a while in this game.
I just don't know how
he ended with 15, but
closeout game with no Fred VanVleet, like at home.
fade the injury, right?
I mean, totally. But the play. I mean, you got to end that series tonight because you can't let him playing with that finger. Like that's the more games he plays, the less effective he's going to be. It's only going to get worse every time he catches a ball and takes a hit.
Yeah, I mean, what you said earlier about how 3-0 in the first round would typically be that's all she wrote. And it's really interesting what's happened this year with some of these teams finding a little bit of life. So we'll see what happens. But that Memphis game, is that one resuming tomorrow? Memphis and Minnesota?
Yeah,
Probably.
Tomorrow night.
Yeah. Okay. And then I guess a little bit further on the horizon, PGA Championship coming up in May. It sounds like did you guys see the Mickelson news? That Mickelson is trying to play both the maybe play both the PGA Championship and Joe, did you see this too? He's going to try to play the first Saudi event in June.
Yep. Should be fun and interesting. And also our boy Tiger applied to play for the PGA, which is nice.
That would be pretty incredible. So, all right. Well, thanks everyone for listening to this episode. Look forward to a couple more guests that we have coming up. If you liked our show, subscribe, tell your friends. If you didn't like our show, well, then go fuck yourself. And I don't really know what else to say. So,
Strong and hard.
All right. We'll get Chris Duke back soon too. He survived his honeymoon in Hawaii somehow. His wife didn't leave him there, so that's good. And so other than that, for Neil, Kyle, and Joe, we will see everyone again next time. We're on Twitter at FadeU Sports. Give us a follow there and follow all our shit. And let's just remind everybody what happens when you bet on poop like Kyle's Arizona Diamondbacks.
Just might step in a big turd and slip and then fall in it.